So thank you to everyone who's already here. We're going to hear today from Kristin Jakus. Kristin joined the university here in September 2018 after she had spent the 2017-2018 season working with the NBA Milwaukee Bucks. Prior to the Bucks, she had also worked at the University of Missouri and with the United States Olympic speed skating team. She grew up in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and attended the University of Northern Colorado and received her master's in sports nutrition from the University of Utah. And we also want to thank our Alumni Association marketing intern, Ethan Westerman. He's the one that connected us with Kristin and got us in contact with her for today's Lunch and Learn. So I'm going to let Kristin take it away.
Hi, everyone. Let me just pull up this little PowerPoint I made. Learned how to do that today. Okay, so there we have that. All right. So just a little about my role here. Like I said, I've been here for 2 years, coming up on 2 years. And I work with both men's and women's basketball, and I also work with swim and dive. So even just within my teams, I have a variety of different needs, different athletes, from my women's divers to my men's basketball team. So just everything is really tailored to them, but can be very different, but they also have a lot of the same needs. So a lot of what I do during the day is I meet one-on-one with student athletes. I attend training sessions. I go to basketball practices. I go to swim practices. I create nutrition education, both for the team and then also for individuals. I contribute to our social media accounts. I'll shop for food. I'll go to Sam's Club and get snacks for my teams for travel and when they're on the road, or even just meets when they're here at home. I'll also go on grocery store tours with my athletes. We'll host cooking classes here in our nutrition center. And we just do a lot of other tasks in between all of these things that I just mentioned. Every day is different for us, and it always is changing, especially right now. We actually have a to-go window in our nutrition center. So we are currently feeding the athletes who are here to-go meals that they can take home and eat and warm up at home. So we're still able to be able to give stuff to our athletes and give food and education to them, even if they are away from here or if they're still on campus. So a lot of what we tell our athletes, especially right now, is, we need to create a routine. This is something that a lot of us are not really used to, being at home and having to really stay at home and not do a lot of stuff for a long period of time. So for our athletes and for everyone, it's just about transitioning into a new routine that can still be healthy and still, give everyone what they need in terms of nutrition. So going with that and starting with that, a lot of ways that we contact our athletes and reach out to them is through social media. So many schools with their sports nutrition departments have social medias. Ours is Razorbacks Fuel. So we have an Instagram and Twitter that are run by the dietitians here. And we post infographics and recipes for our student athletes to see. That's really one way to reach our student athletes. We also talk to them individually and talk to them by our teams, but this just allows us to always have that information be out there, and whether or not it's for just right now or for all the time. We just want to make sure that our athletes know what they should be looking for and are able to know where to contact us if they have any questions. So most of the advice that we have on social media can only be used for student athletes, but it can really be used for all individuals who are impacted by coronavirus and just any unusual circumstance in which they don't necessarily know what to do nutrition-wise. So our first thing that we've told our athletes, and we tell everyone, is to stick to a schedule. Create a routine that everyone can get used to, so that your body kind of knows, what to expect, kind of get in a routine of when you should be eating, if that changes from when you normally would eat when you're working, or if that's still the same when you're at home. Just kind of having that routine. I know a lot of our athletes will tend to stay up really late and then sleep a lot of the morning, but we just tell them to kind of wake up early, try to still have that bedtime and awake time at a normal schedule, and then making sure that they're eating breakfast and 3 meals a day at the normal times that they maybe would, especially when they're on campus. We also want to encourage adding activity. So, nutrition is not necessarily, there's a lot of other trainers, athletic trainers and strength coaches that talk to our athletes about that, but we still want to advise them and just encourage them to go on a walk or get outside when they can, or, just do a video or a Zoom. I've done a Zumba class that I found on YouTube some yoga, anything that can kind of just give you a little bit of exercise and just kind of bring that into your routine as well. Click this next slide, if I can find it. So another thing that we emphasize all the time, not just right now, is creating a balanced plate. So the balanced plate that you see is what we'll usually show to our student athletes, not only right now, but all the time when they're training. Obviously the portions might change based on our athlete and based on what their training demands look like, but this plate is also applied to all Americans that we have. So the US, so this plate we have, it's what we also have at eatright.org. So for all Americans, our government puts this out to kind of show like this is kind of what we want to aim for when we're looking for a balanced plate. So especially right now, they might not look perfect. They might not be perfectly balanced with all the ingredients matching each other. But when we're looking at our plate, we do want to try to get protein, some whole grains, and then a colorful arrangement of fruit and vegetables. So that's definitely what we talk to, anyone with especially our student athletes or anyone else with their families and friends that, even though it might not look the prettiest, just making sure we kind of get that components so that we're still getting all the nutrition needs that we need. So all of our vitamins and minerals, making sure that we're still staying healthy, keeping our immune system up as best as we can. So for different fruits and vegetables, another thing that we can do, not only fresh, sometimes it is hard to get fresh produce or certain foods are out of season, but canned and frozen goods are also just as good as fresh. Sometimes they're even better because they're picked at peak ripeness and then either flash frozen or canned so that all those nutrients that are in there are still in there when we open that can or defrost those vegetables and fruits. Also want to make sure that we have a variety of whole grains and a variety of protein as well, just because they have different nutrients that go along with those. So in terms of protein, having seafood, having chicken, turkey, ground beef, but then also making sure we include our plant proteins like quinoa, having chickpeas, having different beans and lentils, that we have a variety in our meals. The same with whole grains. We recommend that half of your grains are whole. So focusing on whole wheat pasta, whole grain bread, again, brown rice and quinoa, those can just have more nutrients than would a white rice or another grain that's stripped of those nutrients that are on the outside. So going to the grocery store, this is a lot for our athletes right now. Usually we have a lot of them who come to our nutrition center for 3 meals a day. And then we also are able to give them money to go out into restaurants in the community. So for a lot of our athletes, they might not be going to the grocery store often, or they might not be going at all, depending on if they're a freshman, they usually will just come here and eat. So a lot of what we're telling our athletes and just anyone is kind of when you're going to the grocery store, making a plan, knowing what kind of foods you're looking for and what kind of staples you want to keep around, especially now, but even anytime, so that you always have something on hand for any situation. So one big thing is to plan out the meals to ensure that you go to the store as little as possible. I know I'll do that on the weekend. I'll try to go at a time that it's not too busy. I'll wear a mask if that's what my local government says, staying 6 feet away, being that socially distant, but just having a list and knowing where I need to find these things and what I need to have, so I'm not having to be in there longer than I need to be and go more often than I need to. I also make sure that we want to choose foods to stock our pantry, and that can be cooked in a variety of ways as well. So having beans, having potatoes, rice, different nut butters on hand, things that can be cooked in different ways, and you can always have on hand to help make a complete meal when you don't really know what to cook or when you're just running out of ideas. So I always have beans and pasta. You can put different sauces on pasta, kind of change up the flavors. Potatoes can be made in a lot of different ways. Mashed potatoes, they can be roasted. So just kind of keeping those staples that'll last a long time and can also be used for a lot of things. And then in addition to those, looking for foods that are also a little bit more shelf staples. So bread, I always put my bread in the freezer so it can last beyond the expiration date as long as it's frozen, and then I pull it out when I need it and it stays fresh. That's one thing we tell our athletes a lot. They don't really realize that they can buy a whole loaf of bread and put it in the freezer because they think it'll go bad and they won't use all of it, so they avoid buying it. And then like I talked about before, the frozen and canned fruits and vegetables, they can be just as nutritious as fresh. So when we're going to the grocery store, just making sure we have a list, making foods that are in a variety of ways. So one thing I'll do is I'll get a bunch of vegetables, I'll get broccoli, I'll get potatoes, I'll get carrots, things that can be made. What I'll do is roast them or also in a stir fry. So having those different kind of flavors to change things up so you're not eating the same thing, especially if you're having to make meals all the time and not really go out or do less takeout than you maybe normally would during normal circumstances. Let's see, go to the next slide. So one thing our athletes are asking about right now, and is always a good thing to know, is just having a good amount of snacks on hand that can keep you away from the snacks that maybe aren't as healthy for you, especially when you're being at home, maybe not being a little bit less active than you normally would. I know our athletes are struggling with that right now, of kind of what to be eating because they're expending a lot less calories than they're used to. So what a big thing we tell our athletes is to make sure that our snacks are composed of both protein and carbs. So the reason we say that is because that protein and that carb, that combination will give you what you need to fuel your muscles and fuel your brain when you're doing work or just hanging out, doing regular everyday things. But they also keep you full and help sustain that energy. So one big thing that's really popular here is we have rice cakes. So we'll do rice cakes, a lot of different toppings. We do peanut butter and fruit. Our athletes will do hummus and veggies. We can do Greek yogurt and berries. I've seen ones with pizza toppings. So that can be done in a variety of different ways. And it's a nice little light snack to have that can really fill you up and just be really easy to prepare. Another one that our athletes love is hummus. So again, getting with the carbs and protein. Hummus, which chickpea, provides a lot of protein, and then we want to make sure we get pretzels as well as vegetables to get that variety of color and to get those carbs and protein. So that really, that can be, it almost looks like a balanced plate in itself of having that protein, carbs, and vegetables there. Then, the next one we have is granola. So we want fruit or granola and yogurt. We recommend our athletes do Greek yogurt just because it does have a higher protein content. And then adding granola to that, as well as some fruit, can add a little bit of the carbs to that protein. We also have trail mix. So just one thing we tell our athletes is to be aware of what kind of trail mix you're getting, making sure you're getting one that has a variety of different nuts. Dried fruit is a little bit better than if you have one that is loaded with chocolate and butterscotch pieces and all of that fun stuff. So we can balance it out with having that, but also making sure that we are having one that is a little bit more heart healthy with those healthy fats. And we also have cheese and crackers. It can be like a Triscuit and sliced cheese, or it could be having a string cheese and having some pretzel thins or pretzels, and it doesn't have to necessarily look like that. And we also have popcorn and nuts, again, kind of like a little trail mix with having a little bit of popcorn there, which is actually a whole grain as well. We have bananas and peanut butter. It can be any nut butter. It can be almond butter, cashew butter. It can be any fruit. Just, again, having that carb and protein combination. And then one of the things our athletes really love are protein bars or like Luna bars, Cliff bars. And so what we do is we tell them to just look for the amount of protein. We want to make sure that there's about 8 to 10 grams. So it does have protein in there and it's not heavily carb. And that's all that I have for right now. I'd be happy to answer some questions about what I do or anything, other topics that you're wanting to learn about. That was just kind of a brief overview of what we kind of been talking to our athletes about and what I think is really important for everyone to kind of understand as they navigate through these difficult times.
Yeah, so if anyone has a question for Kristin, please feel free to go ahead and unmute yourself and ask it. Jen, do you have a question?
I do, yes. So you said that you go to Sam's Club and pick up stuff for the athletes. What are some kind of, I guess, options that you find at Sam's that are really good for that kind of on-the-go snacks?
Mm-hmm. So a big one that we'll do applesauce. We have the string cheese. They have sometimes Sam's Club will differ because I know some products that they'll have there for a month or two and then they'll be gone. But we try to do a lot of the little snack packs in terms of they have Like they have Cheez-Its Snapped, which are a little bit crispier than normal Cheez-Its. I know a lot of athletes love those. Our athletes love Z-bars, so they're the kids Cliff Z-bar, and they're a little bit less heavy than a normal Cliff bar, and they're like brownie, chocolate chip flavored. So I really enjoy those because they're like a dessert to me. What else do we grab a lot? We do a lot of Uncrustables, but that's not usually the first option. It's just kind of the convenience for our athletes to take and go. But a lot of it, they have a lot of really good bar options. They have Kind bars, they have Kind bar minis. So we're usually in the bar and kind of snacky section, and then grab like applesauce and fruit cups and string cheese.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kristin, Tina has put on the chat, she has asked, she said, so I'm on a low carb diet, not zero carbs, but cutting carbs in general has helped me lose weight. What can you recommend as good snacks for lower carb eating?
So kind of looking back at these snacks on this sheet, let me try to see, there we go. So it can be something, I mean, the rice cakes are lower carb, having the veggies and hummus, maybe having a little bit less pretzels. When looking at Greek yogurt, look for plain Greek yogurt. It'll have a lot less added sugar than a Greek yogurt that is flavored, and then you can always add in your own like honey or fruit kind of to your taste. And then kind of just a lot of the cheese sticks, again, any kind of those snacks we do turkey roll-ups with our athletes. So we'll do like turkey and cheese and just help them to roll it up as a snack. The trail mix is good because it's a lot of healthy fats, which our bodies need.
I have a question, Kristin.
Yeah.
What grocery store do you usually go to? I know that obviously Whole Foods would have probably more healthy options than something like Walmart, which a lot of us go to. But do you have a preferred grocery store that you go to other than Sam's?
We go to a variety of stores. It just kind of depends. I mean, Walmart has a lot of the same options that Whole Foods does. They have a little bit more of the specialty food. It's just more hidden in their aisles. I know there's not as many here in Arkansas. We mostly have just like Whole Foods and Walmart. I mean, really any grocery store, you can kind of, if you stay on the outside, so that's what we tell our athletes too, is to kind of focus a lot of their shopping on the outside where the fresh produce is, when you're looking for in-season produce. The meats are on the outside, the dairy, but still making sure you're going in, because in the middle of the aisles, there are peanut butter, other nut butters, there's bread, frozen goods that can be really good for you. So it's just kind of finding, navigating your store that you go to and finding what foods you're looking for within that store.
Cool, thank you. Regina has a question for you. She said, how do you shop for fruits and vegetables during COVID? Do you have any tips and tricks?
Yeah, so kind of like I had mentioned, the getting fresh and frozen, that's always something that you can do. Right now, it's just kind of, I haven't seen anything about specific vegetables being a problem or specific fruits. I think it's just making sure that you're washing everything. But if things, in terms of going for stuff that's in season, I know that there might be changes in the prices. So usually canned and frozen is going to be a little bit cheaper. So it just kind of depends on what you're making or what the purpose of it. If you're making like a smoothie, it's actually a lot easier just to get frozen fruit. Then it's really easy to make a smoothie. Or if you're making something that you're going to saute, definitely can get frozen as well. So it just kind of depends the purpose. Obviously, if you want to have a banana, you can get a frozen banana, but it won't be good as a fresh one. So.
Perfect. Lee has a question for you. She said, what do you think is the biggest misconception about your job in eating healthy?
The biggest thing for, I think, all dietitians is that we're the food police, and we'll tell you, no, you can't eat that, or no, that's really bad for you, and kind of be more mean about stuff. But really, especially here with our athletes or just in general, we're really just trying to help. And for us, we've learned that it's always about balance and moderation. So we'll never tell you can't eat. Well, I can't speak for everyone. We try not to tell people to not eat anything, but just to maybe look at how much they're eating and kind of think about when they could place that into a balanced meal or a balanced day of what they're eating, and not necessarily say foods are bad or good.
Cool. Melissa has a question for you. She said, do you have any favorite recommendations for social media accounts to follow for healthy eating on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or anything like that?
Yeah. So I don't follow too many outside of sports ones. A lot of sports nutrition departments have a lot of social media posts. I will say I have been following it's called Half Baked Harvest. She has like Instagram, and I know she has a Pinterest page as well. And I've been making a lot of her recipes lately, and they're really amazing. So that's my favorite one. Besides that though, like I enjoy following a lot of sports nutrition ones just because I want to see what they're putting out for other athletes. But again, a lot of this stuff can be applied to people who maybe aren't competing at as a high level as collegiate athletes, because a lot of it is just general advice. And that's what really we try to do with our athletes, is to give them advice and education that, you know, once they leave here and leave maybe the sports world, that they can still use that for beyond to continue to stay healthy throughout the rest of their lives.
Cool. I have another question for you. What's your favorite part about working with student athletes?
I think the favorite part is just seeing my student athletes succeed and kind of helping them to be the best that they can be. I have, like I said, like when the introduction said, I've worked at a variety of different levels. I've worked in the NBA, I've worked with Olympic athletes. And I think by far my favorite is just being with collegiate athletes, because you get a variety of different athletes from a variety of different backgrounds, but they're all competing for the same goal, for the same team here. And it's just awesome to see them succeed. And, you know, for a lot of it is like, you know, win a game in overtime, or make it to the NCAA tournament, or get drafted, or get a best time in the pool. So it's just, for me, it's just seeing them succeed and knowing that we were all here and they had a team helping them to do that.
Cool. Lee has another question for you. It's a good question. Do you have any healthy dessert recommendations?
Healthy dessert. Ooh. I know there's a lot. I like to do, you can always do like banana ice cream. So there's a lot of recipes that you can just use like frozen bananas and just get them whipped up and then like add chocolate chips. I really love dessert hummus. So that's where you take the chickpeas and take hummus, and you can put more sweet flavors in there, like chocolate chips and vanilla extract. I've seen it made, and then you can also, I've seen it in the store. I know Walmart has it. I think Aldi's has it. Those are the two in the area, and Whole Foods I know has it as well. And those are really good. That's like a really protein-rich snack that doesn't have a lot of extra added sugar into it. And that can be eaten with fruit, or it can be eaten with crackers. So kind of, I really like that a lot, or like a fruit yogurt type of situation as well.
Awesome. Does anyone else have any questions for Kristin? You're welcome to put them in the chat, or if you want to unmute yourself and ask them yourself, you're more than welcome to. All right, well, if no one has any more questions, thank you so much, Kristin. I know, speaking personally, this helps a lot, because I found it hard to eat cleaner and healthier during the quarantine, especially when you're stuck at home. It's hard not to just devour what you have in your pantry. So, we really appreciate you. We will be posting this video. I've been recording it, so we'll put it on our Arkansas Alumni website so other people can view it if they weren't able to tune in today. But thank you so much. We truly appreciate you, and thank you for all the work you do for our student athletes.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.